Okay, just coming to bed. It's November the 30th, but there seems to be this strange lump. Okay. You're getting lots of rest. Always a good girl. Go on in, bye. There you go. There you go. You ready for your breakfast? A bit of a wait yet, lad. Bit of a wait. It's early-ish in the morning on December the 1st. And I'm getting ready to set up Christmassy, Adventy things. I've got all my candles set up. Well, started to be set up. And then, of course, it'll be time for the festive food calendar. Good morning, everybody. Happy December the 1st. Where's that, Annie? Say happy December 1st. What? Oh, and oh, here we go. From the hounds and myself. It's quite cold outside today. This is just a very quick hello. Okay, so I am up and ready to go outside unseasonably early today because I have some gardening to do. Because what else would you do on the first day of December? Do some gardening. And I think probably, look, can you see outside? It's not raining. That's the key. It's not raining. So I need to go out. I have a rose, a bare root rose that I need to put in before, well, yeah, it needs to go in today basically. So I'm going to go and plant that out in the front garden. And then I do have some dahlias that I need to cut back and lift to put in the shed. Also ideally today, but we'll see how we go because it's quite chilly out. So I'm going to go out and do that now before I then come in and make myself half decent so that I can film some other crafty bits and some Christmassy things. So it's a kind of a gardening Christmas bit today. The dogs will come out and help me. Henry is, doing something unspeakable down there. Gosh, it's a long time since I've done this, so my arm is starting to ache now. Now these are where I'm growing my potatoes that will hopefully be ready for Christmas dinner. But I've just had a little dig down and I thought, yeah, let's get some out. And there, that's all I can find. Yep, it's gonna be a festive feast. So I can't believe it's still only about 10 o'clock and I've been out and done loads of things. But what I really wanted to do was just give you an idea of the exciting thing that's going to happen today. Well, it's exciting for us. Probably not really that exciting for you. But we've got new living room furniture coming today. So I'm going to pan around and show you the before. And then hopefully once it's all in this afternoon, I'll be able to show you the after. And then we can really start thinking about getting some Christmas decorations up. So here it is. Here's our living room as it stands at the moment. So we've just had all this wallpaper. There was all wallpaper here. That's all been stripped off and it's been painted. Oh, such a lovely, clean white colour. I'm all about white at the moment. Really loving it. And then we've got, obviously the TV is still in here. We had to pull in. We feel like we just moved in. This is a chair from Gary's office across the way. That's a chair from Hannah's bedroom. This is my granny chair. So for the last week, since the old furniture was taken away, we've been sitting in these chairs. The dogs have been unimpressed because they usually sit on the sofa with us, but we brought their baskets in. That's Gary's advent calendar over there, which is very Christmassy toolkit advent calendar. He's very excited about that. And then we scan around, we've got, oh, there's the post. That's exciting. And then, oh, this will be decorated. And then I must just show you my beautiful blanket cum quilt ladder, which was a present from me a couple of weeks ago, actually, from my wonderful friend Irina. And she found a couple of these ladders in her in-laws' barn or outbuilding. Her in-laws have a farm, and she cleaned them up and she's got one and she gave one to me. Thanks, Hen. And she gave one to me. And it's just wonderful. It's so lovely. I usually have the blanket up here as well, but last night it was cold, so I took that off. But that's gonna stay in here. Gary's pumpkin quilt there, that will swap over for Christmas quilt once I've finished it, which I will be finishing hopefully in the next couple of days. Oh, look, sorry, it's Henry making himself, oh, and a groan. So yeah, this room hopefully will look quite different. It'll probably look a lot smaller tonight with the big furniture in. The most exciting thing is though that we've bought reclining sofas. So actually you might not get any more Vlogmas out of me. I'll just be asleep on the... Now through here is my craft room at the moment. This is what we're currently, it's, you know, as you would expect. Actually, it's not that untidy for me. It's quite reasonable. And I'm going to be doing some work over here. Oh, see, you walk around, you kick a bone, as you do. I'm going to hopefully be binding this today. I've settled on this because I bought a little stand finally. Oops, sorry, top secret pattern there. Finally got a stand to put that on. I'm also going to be making some of the no-sew Christmas stars. Got the puff quilt there. Then we've got 2 more quilts there that need to be worked on. And then I'm going to show you through to the kitchen. That's Henry's bit of destruction for the morning. This is the stand that I want to put that other applique on. But this is the main thing I'd like to get done today. I don't think the light is terribly good because this is so bright white. Let's see if I can get that in there. Now this is a Nikki Franklin kit that my dad stitched last year. Look at that. I had quite a few of her kits, and so I started sharing them, and Dad was doing these, Mum was doing a few as well. Yeah, the stitchery, that was it. And I really wanted to put it in a frame. Dad quite fancied a shadow frame, so I've got one, so I need to stretch this out. I'm really sorry about the lighting. That's the best I can do here, and get that in a frame, so I'll show you that later. Anyway, for now, I think that will probably do. I'm off to do my Advent study. You're on film.
Candid camera.
So it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Hannah is already in pyjamas.
I'm not.
You are.
No, I'm wearing a proper clothes.
It's
just
her work
really
from home day
cold.
today. So
Cold.
she doesn't have to dress like a grown up.
It's cold.
It's cold. We have got the fire on.
But it's not hot.
It's not hot yet. I need to put another log on it. But anyway, what's tomorrow, Han?
Friday.
And is it a special day?
It's my birthday.
It is your birthday.
1 day close to death.
Wow.
1 year, sorry.
I'm so sorry. We'll be a little bit more uplifting. We're going to have a fun day. We're going to do stuff.
Yeah. Spend lots of money.
Spend lots of money. Going to get your nails
Actually-
painted.
Actually, we're not, because I've got to save it for London.
Yeah, because we're going to London next week. But you'll spend a bit, won't you?
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Why'd you say I wanted to go to All Things Analog?
Oh, that's right. We're going to have a stationery fest. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to put her out of shot now.
Thanks.
So it's just
Actually
me.
kind of in the middle of something.
She's reading. Look, all she ever does is read.
Mush dickish.
Okay, so I had to come in here. Oh, look, there's lots of reflection in my glasses. Should I take that off? But that's better. because she was too distracting in the lounge. I'm going to say ta-da for now for day one of Vlogmas. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of what I got up to. I will show you properly. The new furniture arrived, which is very exciting. We're going to settle down tonight and hopefully watch a Christmas movie. Most likely deck the halls because that's my choice of first day of Advent, because the film story begins in Advent, if those of you who don't know it. It's a terribly cheesy kind of slapstick kind of film, but I absolutely love it. So hopefully we're going to settle down once Gary gets home from work and watch that. And I'm going to leave you today with the first reading, world premiere, dun, da, 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 of A Christmas Carol. Now, as most of you who watch this will know, that each year I read A Christmas Carol in December, and for the last couple of years, lots of you have been joining in with me. And I had a few requests this year to spend a bit more time on it, and I suggested I could read it actually to you. And for my sins, that seemed to go down well. So I actually I will be reading, hopefully, all being well if my cough lasts, the entire book to you in stages. So it's about 5 pages, 4 or 5 pages a day. So I recorded this first bit, I actually recorded it yesterday. It's a bit of a test run. There might be a bit of lighting and sound. I need to alter things, but obviously now we've got the furniture in the lounge, I can set it up a bit better. But for tonight, I shall wish you all a very happy 1st of December, and I shall leave you with the first part of A Christmas Carol. Stave 1, Marley's Ghost. Marley was dead to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Mind, I don't mean to say that I know, of my own knowledge, what there is particularly dead about a doornail. I might have been inclined myself to regard a coffin nail as the deadest piece of ironmongery in the trade, but the wisdom of our ancestors is in the simile, and my unhallowed hands shall not disturb it, or the country's done for. You will therefore permit me to repeat emphatically that Marley was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead? Of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and he were partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole residuary legatee, his sole friend and sole mourner. And even Scrooge was not so dreadfully cut up by the sad event, but that he was an excellent man of business on the very day of the funeral, and solemnised it with an undoubted bargain. The mention of Marley's funeral brings me back to the point I started from. There is no doubt that Marley was dead. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I am going to relate. If we were not perfectly convinced that Hamlet's father died before the play began, there would be nothing more remarkable in his taking a stroll at night, in an easterly wind, upon his own ramparts, than there would be in any other middle-aged gentleman rashly turning out after dark in a breezy spot, say St. Paul's Yard churchyard, for example, literally to astonish his son's weak mind. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood, years afterwards, above the warehouse door, Scrooge and Marley. The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge, and sometimes Marley, but he answered to both names. It was all the same to him. Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone. Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire, secret and self-contained and solitary as an oyster. The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shrivelled his cheek, stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his thin lips blue, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice. A frosty rime was on his head and on his eyebrows and his wiry chin. He carried his own low temperature always about with him. He iced his office in the dog days and didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas. External heat and cold had little influence on Scrooge. No warmth could warm, no wintry weather chill him. No wind that blew was bitterer than he. No falling snow was more intent upon its purpose, no pelting rain less open to entreaty. Foul weather didn't know where to have him. The heaviest rain and snow and hail and sleet could boast of the advantage over him in only one respect. They often came down handsomely, and Scrooge never did. Nobody ever stopped him in the street to say, with gladsome looks, "My dear Scrooge, how are you? When will you come to see me?" No beggars implored him to bestow a trifle. No children asked him what o'clock. No man or woman ever once in all his life inquired the way to such and such a place of Scrooge. Even the blindman's dogs appeared to know him, and when they saw him coming on, would tug their owners into doorways and up courts, and then would wag their tails as though they said, "No eye at all is better than an evil eye, dark master." But what did Scrooge care? It was the very thing he liked, to edge his way round the crowded paths of life, warning all human sympathy to keep its distance, was what the knowing ones call nuts to Scrooge. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak, biting weather, foggy withal, and he could hear the people in the court outside go wheezing up and down, beating their hands upon their breasts and stamping their feet upon the pavement stones to warm them. The city clocks had only just gone 3, but it was quite dark already. It had not been light all day, and candles were flaring in the windows of the neighbouring offices like ruddy smears upon the palpable brown air. The fog came pouring in at every chink and keyhole, and was so dense without that although the court was of the narrowest, the houses opposite were mere phantoms. To see the dingy cloud come drooping down, obscuring everything, one might have thought that nature lived hard by and was brewing on a large scale. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open, that he might keep an eye upon his clerk, who, in a dismal little cell beyond, a sort of tank, was copying letters. Scrooge had a very small fire, but the clerk's fire was so very much smaller that it looked like one coal, but he couldn't replenish it. For Scrooge kept the coal box in his own room, and so surely as the clerk came in with the shovel, the master predicted that it would be necessary for them to part. Wherefore the clerk put on his white comforter and tried to warm himself at the candle, in which effort, not being a man of strong imagination, he failed. "A Merry Christmas, Uncle! God save you!" cried a cheerful voice. It was the voice of Scrooge's nephew, who came upon him so quickly that this was the first intimation he had of his approach. "Bah!" said Scrooge. "Humbug!" He had so heated himself with rapid walking in the fog and frost, this nephew of Scrooge's, that he was all in a glow. His face was ruddy and handsome, his eyes sparkled, and his breath smoked again. "Christmas a humbug, Uncle?" said Scrooge's nephew. "You don't mean that, I am sure." "I do," said Scrooge. "Merry Christmas! What right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough." "Come then," returned the nephew gaily. "What right have you to be dismal? What right have you to be morose? You're rich enough." Scrooge, having no better answer ready on the spur of the moment, said, "Bah!" again, and followed it up with, "Humbug." "Don't be cross, uncle," said the nephew. "What else can I be," returned the uncle, "when I live in such a world of fools as these? Merry Christmas! Out upon Merry Christmas! What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older but not an hour richer? A time for balancing your books and having every item in 'em through a round dozen of months presented dead against you? If I could work my will," said Scrooge indignantly, "every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. He should." "Uncle," pleaded the nephew. "Nephew," returned the uncle sternly. "Keep Christmas in your own way and let me keep it in mine." "Keep it?" repeated Scrooge's nephew. "But you don't keep it." "Let me leave it alone then," said Scrooge. "Much good may it do you. Much good has it ever done you." "There are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited, I dare say," returned the nephew, "Christmas among the rest. But I am sure I have always thought of Christmas time when it has come around, apart from the veneration due to its sacred name and origin, if anything belonging to it can be apart from that, as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time I know of in the long calendar of the year, when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely, and to think of people below as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave, and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good, and will do me good. And I say, God bless it." The clerk in the tank involuntarily applauded. Becoming immediately sensible of the impropriety, he poked the fire and extinguished the last frail spark for ever. "Let me hear another sound from you," said Scrooge, "and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. You're quite a powerful speaker, sir," he added, turning to his nephew. "I wonder you don't go into Parliament." "Don't be angry, uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow." Scrooge said that he would see him. Yes, indeed he did. He went the whole length of the expression and said that he would see him in that extremity first. "But why?" cried Scrooge's nephew. "Why?" "Why did you get married?" said Scrooge. "Because I fell in love." "Because you fell in love?" growled Scrooge, as if that were the only one thing in the world more ridiculous than a Merry Christmas. "Good afternoon." "Nay, uncle, but you never came to see me before that happened. Why give it as such a reason for not coming now?" "Good afternoon," said Scrooge. "I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?" "Good afternoon," said Scrooge. "I am sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party. But I have made the trial in homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humour to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, uncle." "Good afternoon," said Scrooge. "And a Happy New Year." "Good afternoon," said Scrooge.